Hey, Gator fans, I am so excited for this one. I'm chatting with my friend Dave Waters from Gators Breakdown, talking all things UF. Dave, I feel like it's been a little while since we have connected and chatted, and a lot has happened. It's never, as you say, there is never a dull moment in Gator Nation, is there?
There's not, and there was the roller coaster of a season, and ended on a high note there, and nice finish to the recruiting class as well. So we've all seen the way too early rankings that have come out, in the last week or so, and finally, feels like there's momentum in the program under Billy Napier right now.
It does feel like there's a little bit of momentum. And, we came into this offseason looking to see what kind of coaching hires Coach Napier was going to make. He got that promise of a fourth year. DJ Lagway is kind of finding his groove in this offense that obviously, as you mentioned, the team was trending in the right direction towards the end of the season. Let's talk a little bit about these hires, or I don't know, maybe lack thereof hires. Vinnie Sunseri was hired as our safeties coach, and he's got that co-DC coordinator title slapped on there, which I don't know what your feelings are on this. I kind of feel like, he was just hired as a DC. He probably said as part of his contract agreement, like, hey, I want that on there so I can use it on my resume. I personally don't see this as, he's going to come in and call the plays or anything like that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I mean. He just, like you said, just got that defensive coordinator title at Jacksonville State, was safeties coach at Washington last year. So yeah, if he was going to make a move to Florida, if he was going to give up play calling duties, if he was going to give up being the man on defense at Jacksonville State, yeah, you probably got to make it up somewhere in the title. So he gets that a little bit of pay bump probably as well, to go along with that. But yeah, safeties coach is going to be that main role for him, and get to work in the back end if the coaching staff stays the same. Work on that back end there along with Will Harris, and look, coach up a position that he played at Alabama. So you got some experience there to go along with that. And hey, look, without a crazy deep dive into Washington last year. Hey, they didn't give up a whole lot of big plays last year, and look, you got to give some credit, I think, to the safety position there. Now they got ran on like crazy, so does that play into it as far as the number of deep passing plays that teams were at least maybe not even trying to complete on them, because of course they were running the ball really good against the Washington defense, sure, but the coverage grades on PFF were good for the safety position as well. So I do think he made an improvement in that first year there for that new Washington staff. So yeah, I do look at it as it's probably a good addition for the Gators, and with Austin Armstrong leaving, having an opening on that defensive staff, probably a good way to fill that role is to get somebody back there in that safety spot.
Yeah, and I don't hate obviously, I don't know a whole lot about how Sunseri is going to do on the recruiting trail. He hasn't spent a whole lot of time in college ball, the majority of his time, obviously, in the NFL. But you've got to think having a guy that has won 2 national championships in this league, he's young, that will carry some weight with these players who are looking to connect with people who have been there, essentially. And, we always talk about the standard. And obviously the standard at Florida is national championships. And that's why having guys like Spikes in the locker room is important, right? Somebody that's been there and understands it. And you're getting that with Sunseri.
Yeah, I think go back to Washington. I think I put it on the episode. There was a 4-star recruit I don't remember the name of, and a 3-star recruit. He was only there for less than a year. So it's really, as you said, his recruiting resume wasn't going to be the best at college. But yeah, a lot to point to as far as playing in the SEC, knowing what it takes to play in the SEC. You could throw around an NFL background as well, and then, like I said, the little bit of good that he was doing there for Washington at that. So yeah, we'll see how it figures out. Allie, I think we go back to a year ago. You had the.
I'll get right back to the video, but first, I appreciate BetUS for all their support. Just quickly, make sure you're betting with them and using their code YouTube150. That'll get you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit. You'll also get 125% on your next 2 deposits, all up to $2,000. Whether it's the Super Bowl, college hoops, or the NBA, make sure you're betting with BetUS this year.
The name hires from Billy Napier's original staff and Corey Raymond and Sean Spencer, and didn't really play out that way on the field. And then Will Harris, who had some NFL experience, had some college experience, defensive coordinator at Georgia Southern. Chapman comes in as well, and not really highly lauded, but both improved their position groups
Yeah.
in year one. So, and look, both sides of it on the field and recruiting was kind of looked at for both those guys. And I'd say for right now, at least toward to the end of the season, defensive line played much better than they have any tenure or
Yeah.
any part of Billy Napier's tenure. Same for the secondary. So I think those hires. I think so. Would we have all loved a bigger name, a more established name? Sure, but it not being that type of hire, it doesn't make it for sure that the improvement's not going to be made given what we've
Yeah.
seen this past season.
Well, and I think so. This hire makes me believe Ron Roberts will be staying on. That we're, if we were making a change there, I think the DC title might make me feel a different way, for Sunseri. But this hire makes me feel like Ron Roberts is staying. I think we saw massive improvement over the course of the season last year. I don't know if you feel the way I do, but I do feel like that mid-season kind of improvement probably had something to do with Ron Roberts taking more control, um, and Austin Armstrong having less control, right? So what do you think about Ron Roberts staying on? That's a positive, right?
Yeah, for sure. And look, Cam Jackson basically just
He did just
yeah.
tonight.
Yeah, right. Senior Bowl, yeah, at the Senior Bowl, he was getting interviewed, and he came out and said, "Hey, look, we were just kind of just told to be more aggressive up front, and we were told just to go play. We didn't have to worry about stunts. We didn't have to just go attack." And
Yeah,
it fit those guys, and that's kind of the vibe that I think you and I were hearing during the season. It was a change in kind
yeah,
of mentality as well from that first bye week and figuring out that's what the players wanted to do. And Billy Napier
yeah,
said it. Look, there was a lot of communication between the players and the staff about what do you guys want to do, what do you guys do well, and hey, coach, we just want to go play.
yeah,
So they took that to heart, and you really could see it up front. And you go back to the beginning of the season last year, the defense was bad all the way around. They couldn't stop
yeah,
the run, they couldn't stop the pass. So they had that first bye week, and then UCF is that next game, and that's one of the best running teams in the country, and you could see it right away. That Florida was like, all right, well, we're not going to be run on. Tennessee didn't really run on Florida. UCF didn't really run on Florida. Kentucky was known to run the ball on Florida in years past. They didn't do it either. So you saw the improvement right away in that change of attack, change of style, and then eventually they got even better up front, and it started helping the pass defense as well. So they certainly figured something out. And it does seem like it was more just, hey, let's get back to basics. Let's let these athletes that we know we have at Florida just go play ball.
yeah. It definitely seems like maybe they was getting overcomplicated unnecessarily. So another hire that or lack thereof is offensive coordinator. I know you probably heard the same stuff I did when Scott Strickland came out with the vote of confidence, and that was that he was going to have to hire an offensive coordinator this offseason, which is something we heard last offseason as well. And with some of the statements that Napier has made in the last week or two, I, I'm pretty confident we're not hiring an offensive coordinator at this point. Is that how you feel, and is that the right move going forward?
Yeah, it certainly seems like that's going to be the case. And as you said, we heard this last year as well, and that's kind of what I kept saying too. Is yeah, I'm hearing that it will happen, but I will believe it when I see
Yeah,
it. So that's kind of just the way it turned out as well. So, um, as far as it being the right move, I've been on the record. I would hire an offensive coordinator, and not necessarily just because of the offense and just because of the play calls, but just to help Napier in the other areas of being a head coach. And everybody will point to, hey, what Jimbo Fisher's the last head coach that's called plays and won a national championship, and before that, it just doesn't happen a whole lot. And a lot of people will point to that aspect of it. And look, especially in today's college football, there is a lot more on a head coach's plate than there ever has
there
been.
ever was. Yeah,
So, trying to be the play caller with all the recruiting responsibility and the game management responsibility and the play calling and the game planning aspects of it. There's a lot on your plate right now as a head coach. So, to me, as far as the offense goes, I think as far as the offense itself, there's a lot of good in the offense. Can Billy Napier unlock it all? Again, to me, that's probably still the biggest question of it all. Is if can he. Look, to me, if you're going to be a play caller as a head coach, you better be elite at it. You better be Steve Sarkisian. You better be Lincoln Riley, a few years ago at Oklahoma. You got to be at that level of it. And I'm not so sure Billy Napier he's not there now, and I don't know if he ever will get there. But hey, look, that's what I'm saying. To go on the other side of it, if he's ever going to be that elite as a play caller, you're going to have a quarterback like DJ Lagway. So I can see him saying, hey, look, I finally got this toy. I finally got this Christmas present right here. Let me have one more shot at it.
Yeah.
Maybe a year from now, if he feels like he didn't unlock the offense with DJ Lagway at its potential, then maybe that's a realization for him. Okay, if I can't get it to a level it needs to be with this type of quarterback, maybe it is the realization that I need to hand over the keys. So I think he wants that one chance. And this is just me. That's from my perspective.
Sure.
Maybe he just wants to see what he can do with DJ Lagway before he fully gives it up. But I can understand it in some way from his viewpoint. I finally got this new shiny toy. It's the best it's ever been. Let me get my shot with him.
I'm sure Ohio State is very happy that Ryan Day had that realization because they went from, I think it was the 46th offense overall to the third
Yep.
offense overall, and obviously ended in a national title. And I would say probably Ryan Day would fall further into the elite category than maybe Billy Napier does
Yeah.
at this point in play calling. But we shall see. DJ Lagway is an incredible weapon. So, if it was going to be unlocked, it would be this season.
Yep.
What are you hearing about general manager? That was another position that we had heard that a hire was going to be coming.
Yeah, likely from the NFL ranks, but a lot of interviews that have happened, of course, through this. And from what I've been hearing, not just for general manager, but it's multiple roles that they're looking at. It's not just
Yeah.
one. It could be 2 or 3 roles that they're looking for, a complete front office there
Yeah.
for the Gators. You got Jacob LaFrance, kind of that general
Sure.
manager title right now.
Title, yeah.
But I think they're looking more for and Jacob's kind of role is more for that pure football aspect of it. I
Sure.
still, I think they're looking for this front office more the monetary, the monetary side of football that college football is turning into right now, contracts and NIL, and that's what they're looking for. So the names escape me right now. I know a lot of Philadelphia Eagle connections, I believe, with some of the names that they're looking at, Atlanta Falcon connections as well with that. So yeah, it's certainly. This new world, a new age, new look college football. It's more for the the contract side of things, which is kind of crazy to keep saying, but I guess we just kind of got to get used to it.
Yes. And for those of you at home watching, I'm going down in real time, getting sick. So I'm trying my best not to cough here. It has felt, I mean, and this is not new to this off season, but it definitely feels like any hires that Coach Napier makes are kind of slow, and that's intentional, right? He is incredibly intentional and is looking to see how pieces fit into the puzzle, and I think he does this with the transfer portal recruiting wise. But does that make it harder when you go this slow, or is this really it is to the benefit of the program? Like hiring a safeties coach, was Sunseri the best that was available, or did things move too slowly in other directions, and that's what we were left with? And I say that not disappointed in the Sunseri hire, because I'm
Yeah.
really not. I think it's a fine hire. I'm good with it. But in the process of being intentional, are we moving too slow on some things?
I could certainly see it. For me, all the way going back to the beginning, I was just looking at transfer portal. I've always been the plan to be more aggressive overall, whether it be
Yeah.
speed and number of
Yeah.
trying to turn it around a little bit faster. So
Sure.
Napier certainly believes in his process and the time it takes, and admittedly so. They go through the process there and. Yeah, begrudgingly, I do think it probably hurts Florida in some ways. And now I think the part of it is with the timeline, if it's going to take this, I don't know if you're going to see the immediate results. I think there's a lot of big picture look for Billy Napier. And
Sure.
unfortunately, big picture is going to take a little while, and it's going to take a little bit of time. So, it kind of go into it as well with the way I think this offseason is planned out. They were intentional about keeping the guys on the roster.
Uh-huh. And
You
I
know,
do
it-
think that was probably needed to be the most important
right?
aspect, right?
Right, keeping that offensive line together with Barber and
Yeah.
Slaughter to bring back 4 of your 5 offensive linemen. Bring back Caleb Banks and Tyreek Sapp
Yeah.
on the defensive front, and they were very intentional in that. So it's going to make the transfer portal look a little bit slower than it probably
Sure.
would have been, just because there's not many numbers in general. And I think they were really trying to get those deals done before they
Yeah.
kind of really focus on the transfer portal. Now, look, we know Florida was really hot and heavy in Keyshawn Silver early on in the transfer portal, lost him to USC, a couple of defensive backs that went to Miami and to Georgia as well. So, they weren't slow. They just missed out on some of those guys early on in the process. So it was kind of a mixed bag this offseason, but I do think the process was a little slower because they wanted to get that first step and really retaining the guys on the roster first.